name is Ryan Nelson. In this brief video, I'm going to show you how you can reduce risk and improve compliance with Novell Privileged User Manager. How do you deal with the problem of root or super user access? Root is the default Linux and Unix account, which has access to all commands and files on the server, and is sometimes known as super user. The root account is required to administer and manage the server, so it's imperative that we control and audit access to this and similar accounts. Now, depending on how many Linux and Unix servers your organization has, this can be a big issue. With that said, how does your organization control access to the root account or similar accounts? There are a couple key principles that we need to understand. First, we don't want to give people access to this account, or in other words, we don't want to give them the password to root. In this example, I'll give the root account the password super. Now, if I did give this password out, what becomes the problem? We don't know who is doing what on the servers because many administrators are sharing and have full access to the root account. This of course removes personal accountability and widens your organization's risk of attack or abuse. What we want is to have people use their own account, in this case Justin, but we're not going to give him access or the same rights as root. Instead, we'll allow our administrators to assume super privileges, but we're going to do it in a way that will not only give them the access they need, but also let us log what the administrator is doing. Going even further, we don't have to give the administrator full access to the privileged account. We can lock down what they can do. So as you can see, we're not controlling access to the root account. Instead, we remove the need to access the root account. This process is often known as root delegation. We can granularly determine what specific privileges an administrator has, so instead of giving someone a huge account with too much power, we can allow you to use the root account, but only for these narrow purposes. And we can do so across many systems with central management and complete failover and load balancing, so that you don't ever have to worry about downtime. So, how exactly does this work? Well, let's take a look. On each operating system, we will install an agent, and if you wanted, these could even be Linux workstations. In the data center, we'll have a server that will hold our organization's configuration. Inside that configuration will be the privileged accounts such as root or similar accounts. I'm also going to define the people who can assume these accounts. Then I can build a simple relationship between the accounts and users. In this case, Justin can assume root. This is where I'll also define the location, time, and usage restrictions for my users. It's very simple to control this access. Now that the agent sits between the user and the operating system, when Justin attempts to make a change on the server, such as backing up a database, turning on a service, or whatever the case might be, the type commands are intercepted and sent to the central authorization database for approval. At that time, many conditions are checked, such as who is allowed, what the user can do, when they can do it, where they can do it from, and how they do it. If authorized, the command is remotely executed on the target machine under a privileged account's credentials such as root, and everything is logged and audited so that we can prove compliance. In summary, Novell Privileged User Manager allows organizations to granularly control user access to root accounts, audit all user or group activity with comprehensive keystroke logging. Privileged User Manager will sift through mountains of log data to identify those activities that pose the greatest risk to the organization, simplify audit reporting by injecting information about the context of the event. This helps managers identify the activity that posed the greatest risk and is most relevant to them. And finally, it supports compliance with internal policies and external regulations such as PCI-DSS, Sarbanes-Oxley, and others. Let's quickly look at who has chosen Novell Privileged User Manager. Several respected organizations have found success in migrating their existing privileged user management solutions over to Novell Privileged User Manager. By migrating over 4,500 Unix servers from Pasco Quest to Novell Privileged User Manager, Barclays simplified their privileged user management administration to make more effective use of their internal resources while improving performance and scalability. At ING, PowerBroker was not providing reports required by external auditors. It was constantly failing over and difficult to maintain. By switching to Novell Privileged User Manager, ING reduced their policy complexity by over 70% and satisfied their compliance reporting requirements. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please contact your Novell representative if you have any questions or would like to know more about Novell Privileged User Management and how it will help you to reduce risk and improve compliance.